This is a 1988 Mazda 323, and it's got a little over 100,000 miles on it. And the problem with it is that the rear wheels, they just make a I guess the best way to describe it is a whirling, grinding noise. The sound of a bearing gone bad. The history on this car is that it was a family car, and large family, 6 people, 2 adults, 4 kids, and they would take long trips with this up to northern Montana. So a lot of weight on the back wheels, and probably why they're gone out. Anyway, so I'm gonna go through the procedure of replacing those bearings on both rear wheels. So first thing I want to do is loosen the lug nuts up, jack it up, and then take the wheel off, and then we're going to you can actually kind of see the bearings almost in here. We had the right lighting. You could actually see, there's a little piece of it you can see there. Anyway, we've got to take that, I think that's a 16, metric 16 nut off of here, and then we've got to, you see a stake down right there. We've got to take that push that stake up so that we can loosen the bolt, loosen the nut, and then take off the drum assembly, and then rebuild it. Okay, so I've pushed the stake up right here so that we can take off this nut, and I was way off on the size of that nut. It's a 21 millimeter. Yeah, there we go. Alright, I think I'm going to loosen that, loosen this, and then jack it up so I don't have to deal with it spinning it. Okay, jacked up. Okay, let's take this nut off here. There it be. There's one of them anyway. Brakes look good. So this outer bearing comes out pretty easy. It's the inner bearing that requires a little more work, but not much. Got to remove this this seal, this oil seal. Actually, I'm going to kind of tear it up. Removing it. That's okay. We got to have 2 new ones to replace that. So anyway, we'll take that out, and then we'll have to take this bearing out, and then we'll have to press the new bearing in with a press, or else you can use an appropriate something, that a socket that fits around that. This is way too small, but a socket that would fit evenly around here, and then hammer that in. But I'm going to use a press. It goes in much more evenly and does a better job. Clean this up a little bit. A lot of old grease in here, and get that all off here. And next I want to let's take a look at the parts we're going to need for this. Okay, here's what we need. The parts that we need to get this job done. Here are the oil seals. 2 of them, 2 of everything. Of course, we're going to do both rear wheels. I'll try to get a close-up of the part numbers on these. This one here, that B00126, that's at a 1544B. My eyesight is not the greatest when it comes to close-ups. That's the Mazda number. That's for the 2 oil seals that we're going to need. Here are the bearings, the A15 bearings. These ones here are by Pronto. I like them because they're all metal. The race, actually, the one I don't like, I don't have here, but you can see it actually has like a plastic race on the inside. And so we have the this is for the inner bearings, the ones that we're going to have to press in. The A15, and the outer bearing, that's an A2, and these are made by National. I like those. So they're all metal. And over here, here's actually the Mazda part number for that. And also what we're going to need are the nuts, because, you know, once we push out that stake, we really want to restake a brand new one. So this is the Mazda part number for the right rear. And notice that it's left-hand thread. Alright, that is left-hand thread. Left, we don't go by the lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, it's the opposite. The left rear, that is right-hand thread, regular thread. Right to tighten. There is the Mazda part number, the B00 number. And there's another number here that you can use, this 304987. Notice that this one here is made by Dorman. But there's both part numbers, you can use either one, Mazda or the, I guess the generic number. And here's the number for, see if we can get this in the right sunlight here, or the right lighting. There it is, 304986. That's the parts we need to get this job done, right there. This inner bearing is obviously bad. If you could feel this as you turn this here, you can actually even hear it. It's grindy and it feels terrible. I mean, very, very rough. Very rough. Anyway, that's definitely going to be the problem. We're replacing both the outer and the inner, but this inner bearing is obviously shot. It's this should run very smooth once we get a brand new bearing in there. So I tried carefully to remove this oil seal, and you can see how it just gets destroyed. So you definitely have to have a new oil seal. And then there we go. There's the old beast. We'll clean this up, maybe we can see the damage on this. And you can actually see on here where on the underside, right there, it takes the brunt, right, of the wear. Okay, I've cleaned out all the grease the best I can with a rag. All that old grease inside there, I want to get that all out of there, all that old black grease. We don't want to be using that junk. So what I'll do is before I put the bearings in, I'll pack some more grease inside here. Good bearing grease, and then we'll put the inner bearing in, and then we'll press on the oil seal. I've cleaned up the old bearing, you know, just to see if we could see any kind of damage on here. And I really can't see it, but I'll tell you, when you put it in here, it is just unbelievable how bad it feels. Just terrible. And you can hear it. I mean, that should be just smooth. And it is just grindy. Hear that? So, anyway. That is definitely the culprit right there. I'm on the passenger side, and don't forget, this is a left-hand thread, so we want to go clockwise to loosen it, right? There we go. Work it out right here, here, every 90 degrees. So I'm using like a 1/4 inch drift to knock those out. Use a little bit of a sledge and gently knock those out. Same with the other side. To knock that side out, we'll do the same thing. Here's the press I'm going to use to push the races on, and also the oil seal. And what I use, a large socket set here. For the oil seal, I'm going to use this 1.5 inches, which, you know, fits. I want that to fit around the outer edges, you know, where I don't want it to collapse in, right there. Okay, that's what we're going to do with that. Make sure we get that well greased. I got some good bearing grease here. I'm going to spend some good money on good grease. Don't want to be doing this all the time. So I greased the bearing up pretty good too. So that's ready to roll. It feels real good, real smooth. Be sure to pack this oil seal with grease. I've already packed this one here. That way we've got grease on that side of the bearing. Okay, I've got the press adjusted here and got it ready to roll. So now we're going to push this down evenly. Turning it real slow here. I've got it greased all the way around so that it goes in smooth. You can do this with a mallet also, but if you've got a press, use your press. It does a much cleaner job. Okay. Looks like we're down. Okay, let's take a look. Okay. Actually, I need to go down just a little bit further. And that's about it. Got that oil seal in. The same thing with the races. You do the same thing. Just carefully, slowly, evenly. And that's it. Okay, make sure you pack a lot of grease in this center. Kind of like this reserve area in here for the grease to seep into the bearings. Okay, that one's ready to roll. If you don't have an 1.5-inch socket, you can also use a 1.5-inch piece of pipe. I got a union here. You can actually use that. It actually fits a little bit better than the socket does. So much more evenly around the outside edges. So it's another alternative. Actually, I prefer the pipe union. It does a much better, much cleaner. It's closer to the edges. So definitely prefer the union. Okay. Yep, nice. Okay, I've got both of these packed with grease on the inside. They're both ready to go. I've got the right side clearly marked and the left side. This is the grease I was using. It's a good bearing grease, lithium. That's the important part right there, is that it's lithium. So, all right, time to get these mounted. All right. Now, before I put this on, I want to move this self-adjuster all the way down, so you see the brakes going in. That just allows it to go on easier. The drum takes some of the pressure off. That's about as far as I want to go with that, so that allowed those to come in less pressure. Alright, let's put that on. Okay, for this one we want to, this left rear side, we want to use the regular threaded nut, the one that tightens on clockwise. The right side is galvanized, so they have it color coded to let you know. Alright, let's tighten this down and seat. I want to go fairly tight and make sure that everything is seated properly. You know, with all that grease in there, we want to get that seated well. Alright. I'm going to go fairly tight initially, so that everything seats, and you can feel it's really tight. Well, you want to do that just to turn it a few times, and I'm going to have to put the camera down, but I'm going to turn it a few times, and I'm going to loosen it back up until it's not too loose, not too tight. We don't want any play in here, but we definitely don't want it too tight or too loose. So let me turn that a few times to seat everything in there properly, and then we'll loosen it back up again. Okay, I've loosened it up and then tightened it back up to where it just starts to get snug and not too tight. And now I'm going to stake this down so that that nut stays in place and doesn't come out. And I'm going to stake that down with this here, and I'm going to use a small 2-pound sledge. Alright, I got that staked down. Alright, put the wheel on, and that left side is done. Alright, this is the right side, and left hand thread. Notice the galvanized look. It's more of a gold look. Anyway, counterclockwise to tighten it up. Same on this side. I'm going to tighten it up real tight where I can still turn it, but it's tight. And then I'm going to turn the drum a bunch of times just to work that bearing in. Once I work the bearing in, we're going to I need to go a little tighter. Anyway, same thing on this side. Tighten it real tight. That's not, I'm exaggerating there. It's still loose. I'm going to tighten that up, then I'm going to loosen it up, and then bring it back to where it's not too tight, not too loose. We don't want any play in here, but we don't want it too tight. And then I'm going to stake it down, put the cap on, and tire on, and that's it. This job's done. Starts to turn at about 2 pounds. That's about what we want it to turn at. That's good. Not too loose, not too tight. Turns at about 2 pounds. On the 88s. The older ones, they turn a little harder.